Are lever arms still relevant in the home gym? I can't answer that, but I can tell you that I really enjoy using them, and today we're going to be diving into a pair that I've been using exclusively for the last several months. That is right! After 3 years of writing, 1 year of shooting, 4 years of reshooting, and 2 years of editing, the time has finally come. Today, I'm going to be reviewing the Crandall Fitness Adjustable Free Motion Swing Arms. So if that sounds interesting to you, stick around! Now before we get started, I am Matt Pendergraph, and if you're new to the channel, be sure to subscribe so you don't miss out on even more awesome home gym related content like the piece you're watching right here. And as always, if you're a longtime subscriber, I appreciate your continued support and I love you with all of my heart. It's true. So diving into lever arms, they've always occupied a bit of a gray area within the home gym community. People tend to either love them or they hate them, or they fall somewhere in between, which I totally understand. While they certainly aren't essential for an effective workout, they can be a fun tool to add to your arsenal if you find that your gym life has become monotonous and you're looking for new ways to spice it up. Lever arms can potentially unlock a whole host of exciting possibilities if you're willing to take the time to explore what they have to offer. That being said, lever arms aren't without their drawbacks. They can be quite expensive depending on the brand. The resistance curve can vary significantly based on how they're configured, and setting them up can be a pretty time-consuming process, which for many of us home gym enthusiasts is a huge downside, since we just want to get in, finish our workouts so that we can get back to focusing on the important things, like measuring our calves and chugging down protein shakes. And that, my friends, is why these free motion swing arms by Crandall Fitness stand out. Now, I'm not going to be covering how to use lever arms or the various setups that you can achieve with them in this video, as I'm assuming that you already have a basic understanding of all of that. Instead, I'm going to be focusing on what sets Crandall's apart from the competition, including their unique features, the overall fit and finish, and of course, most importantly, the functionality, because those are the aspects that matter most to me when it comes to buying products such as these. Quick note, the arms that I'm featuring in this video are an earlier version and have since been updated for the better. As far as I know, the brackets, the operation, all that good stuff remains the same. The main improvement that Crandall made is he swapped from 5/8 inch holes on the arms to 1 inch holes, which is a solid upgrade and just makes good sense, because most people with 1 inch hole racks already have 1 inch attachments like J-cups and rollers, etc. Therefore, if you don't have 1 inch holes on your arms, then you can't utilize your existing attachments, which stinks. It smells like a fart and nobody likes a fart. Do you like that? I don't. I hate it. And that's enough of that. What really sets these lever arms apart is their ability to lock in both converging and diverging positions, allowing them to move toward or away from each other during use. And no, I'm not talking about unlocking them laterally and then manually controlling their path like you can with a lot of these other arms on the market. While that's certainly possible too, I mean that you can swivel the entire bracket inward or outward and then lock it in place, giving you a fixed path of travel, which is very reminiscent of how most of your favorite machines down at the local public gyms operate. Now, to kind of break down what's happening here, these Crandall arms achieve their converging and diverging motion through a clever cylindrical hinge design that's positioned between the bracket that holds the arms and the channel that secures them to the upright. This hinge features 9 vertical holes, allowing users to choose basically between 9 rotational positions. However, I found that it can be difficult to fully seat the hitch pins into the last holes on both ends because the handles of the hitch pins is just too large and it tends to get in the way. It's not a deal breaker though. You can easily replace this with a long bolt if you need access to these holes, and it'll work just fine. Although these arms come with 9 different rotational adjustment holes, you don't have to use any of them if you don't want to. These arms are aptly named the Free Motion Swing Arms because they can articulate nearly any direction so long as you leave the pin out of the system. Now, me personally, I don't utilize this feature because I kind of find it counterintuitive, to be honest with you, and I would rather just use free weights at that point. However, it's good to know that the option is available for those who might be interested. Now, beyond having the ability to rotate, these arms can also be started from or locked into various positions. Let me explain. The brackets that hold the arms feature 7 adjustment holes, 4 of which are located towards the bottom and allow you to easily set the arm at your desired starting height without needing to rest them on safety spotters or something similar. The remaining 3 holes are used to lock the arms into specific positions. Straight down if you want to use the arms as uprights essentially, straight out, or my personal favorite, angled and upward, which not only keeps the arms up and out of the way when not needed, but it also serves as an excellent setup for pull-ups. Now that you have a sense of what makes these Crandall swing arms unique and how they operate, let's hop onto the magic school bus of exploration so that you'll know exactly what you're getting if you choose to purchase a pair. Does that even make any sense? These arms arrived in 2 incredibly well-packaged boxes, one for each arm, and required minimal assembly, which is always a plus. Once you pull both from their boxes, you'll start by securing the entire system to the rack with a set of hitch pins. Next, install the handle back plate onto the lever arm bracket to fully encase the rack upright, and then finally attach the handles to the arms using a second pair of hitch pins, and that's it, you are all set. Personally, since I use the lever arms on my Rep Aries rack and I want the flexibility to quickly remove them for adjusting the front cable trolleys, I chose not to install the handle back plates and rely solely on the pins to keep them securely on the rack. While I'm unsure as to if this is the safest method, I haven't encountered any issues so far, but I will say that if you do decide to try this method, do so at your own risk. Now let's delve a bit more into these brackets, or what I like to call the heart of the system. As mentioned earlier, they're essentially made up of 2 sections, the rear mounting portion that fully encompasses the rack's upright, and the rotating section at the front where the lever arms connect. Every part of this bracket is constructed of incredibly thick steel and finished in a durable flat black powder coat. Also, both sides of the arm bracket sport laser cut branding, which I personally think adds a sleek touch to the overall design. One thing you might have noticed is that the rear mounting brackets don't have any rollers to assist with height adjustment. Instead, Crandall opted for what I believe are UHMW plastic inserts on the inside of the walls to prevent metal on metal contact and help the arms slide up and down the uprights. And while this plastic insert idea is certainly nothing new and it works well enough, I personally would have preferred a roller system, as it would dramatically cut down on friction and create an overall smoother experience, especially given the sheer weight of these arms. I briefly talked to the owner, and from what I understand, there are patents in place that prevent the use of that technology. I don't know, it is what it is, I suppose. Next up, let's talk about the lever arms themselves. They measure just under 40 inches in length and are made from 3x3 11 gauge steel, or whatever the metric equivalent of that would be, since this is an imported product. And like the rest of the setup, they're finished in a durable flat black powder coat. Unlike my Rogue lever arms, these came pre-installed within their bracket, which naturally made me curious about what these arms are actually hinging on. And upon further investigation, I was pleasantly surprised to find 2 radial bearings on each side of the arm, which will ensure silky smooth operation for years to come. Crandall really should do a better job advertising this fact, because not many other arms on the market utilize bearings. As you move down the arms, you'll see numerous holes on all sides along with laser cut numbering, which is really helpful in making sure the handles are at the exact desired height. And again, just to reiterate, my arms have the 5/8 inch holes, but the updated version that you'll receive comes standard with 1 inch holes. At the bottom of the arm, you're going to find a space bracket featuring more laser cut branding, along with a hefty rubber bumper to prevent damage to your rack's uprights. And on the top side of the arm, you'll find a conveniently installed eye bolt, perfect for attaching cable handles for rowing movements or using as a makeshift lever arm belt squat. And finally, at the back of the arm near the top, there's a protected piece of plastic designed to prevent damage when using the resting adjustments. Now the handles for these arms feature a multi-grip loop design on one side and a weight post on the other. And while this design is fairly standard with lever arms, Crandall's handles stand out with their well-done knurling on all contact points and a stainless steel laser cut branding plate that adds a premium touch to the overall look. Now, one minor issue that I've encountered is that the heads of the pins securing these handles to the arms is thicker and sticks out further than the rubber stoppers at the base of the weight horns. As a result, my weight plates end up resting on the heads of these pins rather than the protective rubber. It's not a big deal, and depending on what type of plates you use or the orientation, this might not even be an issue, but it's something I wanted to at least point out. The handles feature UHMW plastic on the inside channel to prevent metal on metal contact, and what's particularly great about them is they can also be mounted in a frontal orientation, allowing both the handles and the weight horns to be aligned with the arms rather than jutting out the sides. This adjustment enhances the resistance curve and enables these arms to converge more fully without the handles interfering with each other. It really is a magical experience that you should definitely play around with if you end up picking up a pair for yourself. The fit and finish and overall composition of these free motion arms is absolutely fantastic. The welds, the powder coating, and all the components have been executed to a high standard. Crandall didn't cut corners on the quality. He used thick gauge steel all throughout, but naturally, this thickness adds to the weight, making each arm quite heavy and robust. I'm not gonna sugarcoat it for you. At 70 pounds each, these arms are definitely not easy to adjust. While you might get used to the weight and develop your own technique to make it easier, moving these heavy arms without rollers is generally a cumbersome task. The included handle on the rear back plate does somewhat help with the adjustment process, but it's still an awkward task nonetheless. To put it into perspective, I sometimes skip certain exercises just to avoid adjusting the height of these arms. Now you can call me lazy, you can call me handsome, you can call me whatever you like, but I want to be transparent about the process so that you know what to expect if you decide to get a pair for yourself. When it comes to using these lever arms, I think they perform exceptionally well, especially given the number of moving parts that are associated with them. The arms swing forward and backward with buttery smoothness thanks to the radial bearings at their attachment point. And even under heavy loads, unlocking and rotating the arms inward or outward requires minimal effort. While I don't often use the arm lockout positions in my training, I definitely make full use of the integrated resting positions. Having used stock Rogue arms for years before upgrading with Vendetta adapters, I can tell you that setting the arm height by resting on spotters is such a hassle. It is such a time-consuming process, and after experiencing built-in rest positions with arm brackets, there's no way I could ever go back to the old methods. As for the rotational aspect that these arms offer, I am a huge fan of their ability to converge and diverge while locked into a fixed path. That is an absolute game changer in my opinion, as it allows the arms to more closely replicate that feeling of a commercial gym machine. And while there are 9 positions available to me, I don't personally have much use for all of them if I'm being honest, but it's nice to know that they're there if needed. One thing I didn't mention earlier, but you might have noticed, is the sheer number of pins involved in this system. You have 2 pins holding the arms to the rack, 1 pin for the rotational lock, 1 for the lockout or the rest position, and then another 2 securing the handle to the arms. That's a whole lot of freaking pins to keep track of. And to make things worse, all of these pins have cotter pins on the other side, and I've already lost 2 of them, so Now, I personally would love to see Crandall find a way to streamline this, perhaps by replacing some of the hitch pins with built-in pop pins, or at the very least, ditch the hitch pins altogether and replace them with magnetic pins, which would eliminate the need for using cotter pins. Of course, such changes might come with a higher price tag. To wrap up this video, as someone who has spent a lot of time tinkering with lever arms, I can easily say that these are some of my favorites so far. While they're not without their flaws and they may not be the perfect solution for everyone, they're incredibly well made and offer a lot of functionality, all while being priced lower than some of the other options on the market. So if you're in the market and can overlook some of the minor drawbacks that I've mentioned in this video, I believe you'll be more than satisfied with these arms, and you can take that to the bank. That's all I've got for you today. I know there's no way I answered all the questions that everyone's gonna have about these arms, as there are so many aspects to cover, and I'm sure that no one wants to watch a 30-minute video on this subject. But as always, if there's something I didn't cover, feel free to drop me a comment, and I'll be sure to answer anything I can. I'll also include a link to these lever arms, as well as a few others you might want to get your eyes on, in the description below. Other than that, hit that like button if this was just as good for you as it was for me, and I appreciate you watching, and I'll catch you in the next video. Dang it, I freaking messed that last one up. Ugh.